Well, hello there, everybody. How are y'all doing? Man, I was just jamming out in some pretty good tunes. 1969. Wow. That's all I can say. It's like, wow. Some of y'all probably weren't born in 69, but I think a vast majority of those here were. And what a freaking year of change. I mean, I look back at that and whoa, if I was an adult, which some question that hasn't happened yet, but anyway, you know, it would freak out most adults what kids actually endure. It's amazing. We are amazing beings. Whether you see yourself as a spirit, as a soul, as a both, you are an amazing being. And thank you for being here. It's a great place. Y'all have made this a place. I got an email from a young lady. All ladies are young, saying she listens. She doesn't participate in the chat, but she watches the chat. And she said that she finds this a group, and she said the group merely reflects that which is being spoken. And this is a group of people that, love, respect each other. I'd say this is one of the most tolerant groups I've ever come across. And she was just complimenting all of you. I'll compliment you back, Paula. Way to go. Thank you. And said that she and her family listen, and they have learned, as she said, we would have never thought in a million years that we would be knowledgeable on topics and subjects that she says, you're right. The vast majority of people just, they don't, they don't either know or they're so asleep or they just don't care. I mean, maybe they're in a state of complete apathy. I don't know. But anyway, thank you. Much love to you. So speaking favor over us all, nothing missing, nothing broken be our reality. Man, I saw the chat. It has been like going in here. Wendy, what's up? I see Bonnie, Mary wins. Much love, darling. Hey, Deborah. Much love to you, darling. Lori, a happy birthday, Scotty. Mushkins, good to see you. Robert V is in the house. Let's see. Mark Smith, how you doing, brother? All the way down there. You're on you're not quite to the equator, but you're pretty far closer than the rest of us, right? Hey, Morning Star, good to see you. Rick, how you doing? Loretta, good to see you. Nina, how you doing? Having Nina on Good Friday. Looking forward to that. Thinking about having JD join us too. Anyway, we're going to be celebrating the Antikarana, the Antikarana. I think I got that right. But anyway, Gaia, how are you doing? Much love. Looking forward to that, Nina, by the way. Troy, hello, buddy. Paul, good to see you. Eric, hello. As it goes, zing. Michelle, how you doing? Grace, good to see you, darling. Elderberry and John and Joyce. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you all. So I got like lots of stuff to be talking. So yesterday's show, I mean, folks, there is like really something going on. I don't know what it is, but I want to share. And Joe, I'm sure you would be behind this as well, because I think this is kind of information that we all need to be aware of. And I want to exchange with you just a little bit of an email. Um, Joe and I was getting in the conversation. So he sent this, and I thought this was interesting. So speaking of this eclipse, he says, since the Middle Ages, I think that is Rosh Hashanah Rabbah has been regarded as an extension of the deadline for divine judgment following the Day of Atonement. Why is this important? Hoshana Rabbah is the seventh day of the Sukkot. The October 7th attack by Hamas took place on the seventh day of Sukkot. Hoshana Rabbah, pursuant to the actual sighting of the new moon, and not the eighth day as recognized by the Hillel calendar. Now that's important because that's the Jewish calendar, which is primarily a lunar calendar, has 13 months, but it only has 54 days. Then they updated it to the second version, which incorporated the solar calendar. And anyway, it's deep stuff, and it's, goes way back. I mean, this is ancient stuff. So consequently, does the October 7th event actually declare the divine judgment is no longer postponed to sometime in the future, but actually has commenced in Israel right now before our very eyes? And if so, cheers, everyone. Is divine judgment about to hit the United States on or after April 8th, 2024, as the final sign? The total eclipse is given over America. In Cairo, Illinois, someone wrote that is right there, the in-between, powerful, how your life destiny brought you to a point like this, because it is insight. Very interesting. So I wrote back, and I just thought I'd share this. I said, I can fully understand where Israel is concerned. They have an actual covenant with their God, and they have a much different history and timeline than the Western and Eastern world. It's the Middle East. Weird. What I do not understand is how a Hebrew God has anything to do with America or the world for that matter, unless one takes the position that this God is supreme ruler over this world, of which I have a difficult time accepting. And we cannot forget the simple fact America has no covenant with a Hebrew God, or at least I have never seen or read one, unless the Masonic God is also the Hebrew God, which is quite possible. Then these prophecies would have tremendous implications. I said, I can still recall the book of Daniel, and I can recall all the biblical prophecy classes concerning the 70 weeks. And as we look at the world in 2024, one can draw some correlation between the two. But then again, one can interpret these prophecies as a warning of something that is celestial in nature and cyclical in their nature as well. This would have the same effect as a judgment, quote unquote, from a being that is in fact celestial. There are so many currents running at the same direction, and all lead to the same end, destruction for the planet, and no doubt many will proclaim these events as evidence of the power of their God, and yet is nothing more than the nature of the universe. So Joe enjoyed that. Just thought I'd share that with everybody, because it's really, you think about what we're dealing with here as I go over here and I go over here, and now I'm back in the saddle again. Anyway, so the point to that is, so is this Hebrew God the supreme ruler of this planet, this realm? Now, in our discussion, and it went further, we got into something that was really interesting if you look at this. So this is the year, and I want to get this right, I wrote this down, the year 57 something. Anyway, according to the Jewish calendar, which is actually, it's 5783. This is what the year is. And that dates back 5,783 years ago, Adam and Eve was created. And that just brings in a whole new aspect of which we're not going to get into, because boy, then you really get deep into this stuff, and it it's like oil. You ever walked on a beach where the tar balls were there? You ever stepped on one of those tar balls? You play like hell to get that crap off of you. That's what I'm talking about. Same thing for the mind. Anyway, so talking about the United States. So how would a Hebrew God have jurisdiction, dominance as the lawgiver over a foreign country? when it was located in ancient Judea and Palestine. And so you begin to look at this. Okay, we know that George Washington, many of the quote unquote founding fathers were Masons. Washington was a 32nd degree Mason, the highest. We know the obelisk that was erected was initially erected to this Masonic god. All sorts of things back. And by the way, that's gone. Something absconded with it. So follow me on this, because this goes directly to the topic on their dollar bill, and it's weird. So let's step back. Now, in 1492, Columbus made the sail and to the New World. Some debate as to did he actually land on American soil. That's a distraction, because the background story is there were 5 ships. Now, the king of Spain didn't want to have really anything to do with it, but it was Queen Isabella, as history has recorded, who convinced the king, and she as well had a part in this, financed 2 of the ships. The other 3 were financed by Jewish merchants. The Jews were in prosecution, being persecuted in Spain at that time. Well, in fact, all over Europe. But anyway, but the interesting thing about the Hebrew covenant is that there is the covenant provision in the contract that their God would make them rich. No matter how far they were dispersed in other lands, wealth would always primarily come to them. Interesting. So, what's even more interesting are these 3 other ships, because when land was spotted, they broke off from the other 2 and they went on about their business. And very little is written in history as to what did these 3 ships, estimated probably close to maybe 600-700 people. Where'd they go? What did they settle? Even odder, there are rumors, and I there's very little that I can find on. There's other scholars who have found the same thing, but it is rumored or thought that these Jewish settlers actually landed on the continental, what we now know as the United States. It is further rumored that what they did is that they built a proxy temple, dedicating this land to their Hebrew God. And it has some serious implications, because if that is in fact true, then we're talking covenants here, we're talking contracts. So just an interesting little snippet. I mean, because the United States in so many ways, as our central form of government, is Roman. It's dedicated to the Roman gods. If you doubt me on that, just look at the past videos I've done. You can go and look at any of the buildings there in DC, and the facades are dedicated to the gods. George Washington on the dome in the Capitol is seated as Zeus. Yeah. Why do you have the god Mercury, Jupiter, in the rotunda of the Capitol building? Now, because in one aspect, this Hebrew God says you can't make any image of it, can't even speak its name. But then it's very clear, on the other hand, we have what would seem to be the direct antithesis of a so-called nation that has a contract or covenant with a ancient Hebrew God. Strange, isn't it? So it's just really interesting, the implications, because there are implications to all this. All right, let's get on with getting to the dollar bill, because that dollar bill, if you have one, pull it out and just take a look at it. And if you have $100 bill, take a real close look at that. Why is that horned owl god on there? Who is the owl many times represented of? Well, there are cases where it's Lilith. It's like, okay, so, hey, voiceover, how you doing, darling? Good to see you, Bonnie. Good to see you, RF. What's good, Troy? Good to see you. Brandy, how are you? People are saying, Brandy, I was actually thinking that song earlier. I love that song. Anyway, hey, I love all music. So let's get into this, because I want to, it's worthwhile really to really let this kind of dig in. So the eye of providence has always been one of those things that, well, okay, so what the hell is really going on here? It said that the eye of providence, if you remember when we left off, was introduced to the Great Seal by a Swiss artist. The Swiss artist, Du Symmetry, was an acquaintance of Benjamin Franklin. Now, Benjamin Franklin, we know, was an occultist. Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. Interesting. By the way, they were all Masons too. Perhaps because of these connections, he was invited to work as the official artist for the committee set up by Congress to propose designs for the Great Seal. This is important. He was the first to sketch a design that included the image of an eye within a triangle. Someone's out there going, well, can you imagine? There ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, sure. Nothing at all. Benjamin Franklin, who was on the first committee, may have suggested this idea to him. Du Symmetry's sketch has survived and is reproduced here. Franklin was a leading Mason and may have suggested the Eye of Providence because it was widely used as a Masonic symbol. Among the many symbols used by Masons was the blazing star, which has a 5-pointed radiant star. In some radiant stars with the G for geometry, in others, was an eye within a radiant triangle. Come on. I mean, you look at this stuff. No, the cult has nothing to do with this. Nothing at all. This is a Christian nation, Wayne. What's wrong with you? The only problem is it isn't. Never was. Anyway, in the written description that accompanied the sketch, the artist referred to the eye as the Eye of Providence in a radiant triangle. Wow. This was widely used as a Masonic symbol. Below is an early 19th century Masonic symbol that combines the blazing star with the letter G and an Eye of Providence. I'm telling you what, you meditate on that. Just get it large enough to fill a screen and just get quiet and just meditate on that. I would be willing to bet that you would be opening up a portal, maybe more than just one. And then if it's all of our money, what is it? Could you imagine the dollar bill? And you see in the spectral of the astral realm, and you see these little beams of light. Right? Anyway, the first proposal for the Eye of Providence represented it as a left eye. Big, big deal here. I think JD and I think others would immediately recognize the left eye as the left-hand path. The engraving on the following page was made in 1856. It is an interpretation made by the artist Benson J. Loosing of the dissymmetry proposal of 1776 for the design of the Great Seal. And in here, you just get the Greek feel for this. Yeah. Egyptian, Roman. I mean, you can go in there and look at that and go, okay, this depicts an eye in a radiant triangle. In the original drawing, Barton had marked out the triangle with a line. In this engraving, the triangle is picked out in white by the radiance. The eye itself is from the left-hand side of the face. I mean, some of this you just go, what? And the vast majority of people, I would say I could go and do a man on the street interview with all 400 and what is it, 52 members of the House and the 100 members of the Senate, and none of them would know this. So the Eye of Providence, which appeared in later designs for the seal, was a right eye. Wow. In 1782, William Barton had sketched a proposed design for the reverse of the Great Seal. This consisted of an unfinished pyramid with 13 levels surrounded by a motto and topped by a radiant eye. The eye drawn by Barton is clearly a right eye. There's some funny stuff going on here. The two Latin mottos proposed by Barton are Dio ferente, the gods with favor. Did I just read that? Dio ferente, with God's favor. And perennis, enduring through the years. Don't tell me speaking favor don't have powerful, even the gods speak it. The eye in the dollar bill is from the left side of the face. The eye within the radiant triangle in the dollar bill rondelle is a left eye. It seems that the final design of the truncated pyramid was more influenced by the original idea proposed by the Swiss artist de Symmetry. In the magical tradition, the left eye is linked with the moon and the right eye with the sun. A lot of our minds going back, you can take this all the way back to the Sumerian tablets, the cylinders, Mesopotamia, the Egyptians, the Chinese, the Hindus. It's all tied together. Wow. The eye above the unfinished pyramid on the dollar bill could be of Egyptian origin. Among the many thousands of paintings that have survived in Egyptian papyrus rolls and inside the walls of tombs is a picture of a pyramid below a pair of eyes. Stare at that a while. In ancient Egypt, the chief god was called Asari. The Greeks called him Osiris. The name was written in Egyptian hieroglyphs as that. I don't know, what would that be? Like a boat and an eye. The two hieroglyphs mean throne and sea. Osiris was the all-seeing god, and his eyes appears in a multitude of Egyptian art forms, of which the above painting is typical, as we shall see on the surface of a surviving capstone of an Egyptian pyramid called the Benben were two eyes. The eye above the pyramid on the dollar bill rondelle is set within a triangle, which reminds one of the capstones of a pyramid. However, this triangle is surrounded by a brilliant aura that seems to represent either the sun or the spiritual world. The image of an eye within a triangle was used by Masons long before the Great Seal of 1782 was designed. It is highly likely that this eye was derived from Egyptian symbolism. The Eye of Providence, or the Eye of God, which appeared in Christian art, was probably derived from early Egyptian imagery relating to the god Osiris. So, In God We Trust was not incorporated until the Eisenhower administration. So, in his ignorance, because they said he was a highly devoted Christian, that this was a way for a nation to express its gratitude for God's abundance. Okay. But if you put "In God We Trust," then contractually, unless there's a clause, the God that was originally represented by the dollar bill, the currency, would trump, no pun intended, the meaning of who and what God they're talking about. Meaning, in this case, Osiris. The eye was an important magical symbol during the Renaissance. In the 15th century, the Italian poet Francisco Colonna made an attempt to translate the Egyptian hieroglyphics. He interpreted the image of the eye below as representing God or divine justice. This interpretation was, of course, very close to the idea of the Eye of Providence, now in the dollar bill. As it happened, the hieroglyphic of the eye meant no such thing, but Colonna's proposal was soon widely accepted by scholars. You see, that's why we question everything in this group. You can show me it's in a book. Well, fine, that's just someone's opinion. And as we can see in what we know, much of the intellectual world is wrong. It's flat out wrong. But they believe their shit really doesn't stink. So therefore, it makes it valid. Well, okay. So Colonna's idea spread throughout Europe and the Americas, which means that basically, I don't mean to be rude about this, but if you're an intellectual scholar, you're really dumb. I mean, you may have high intelligence, but you're really dumb. Anyway, I digress. In both secular and church art. This is why the image of the radiant eye was adopted in the centuries afterwards as meaning God or providence. So they just stole someone else's shit and said, well, this is the way it is, and you have to base your reality upon this. Why, don't you know there's a Jesus? And don't you know that there's a God and there's a judgment? And people going around, they got no freaking idea what it is they believe, and most of them wouldn't care to be told differently. So the eye of the sun is found in Egyptian symbolism. In ancient Egyptian symbolism, the right eye was the symbol of the sun god Osiris. Perhaps this explains why Barton enclosed his eye in a radiant starburst. In the Egyptian drawing below, there are two eyes, one from the left-hand side of the face and the other from the right. Okay. The sacred baboon is handing back to the moon god his own eye, which in the myth has been swallowed by a demon. Because this is the eye of the moon, it is from the left side of the face, painted on the prow of a boat. At the front of the baboon is the eye of the sun, a right eye. The 24 stars that run alongside the base of this drawing are examples of a five-pointed Shay star, so important in Egyptian symbolism. The radiant triangle of the dollar bill is intended to complete the truncated pyramid. The triangle with its enclosed eye completes the truncated pyramid of the dollar bill. The symbolism is designed to suggest that the pyramid will be completed with the aid of the all-seeing God. Which God, right? This idea is expressed in the motto above the pyramid. It is also hinted at the national motto of the United States, "In God We Trust." And again, "In God We Trust," very recent, very recent. The eye of God, which is on the dollar bill, was from an ancient magical tradition. The Freemasons were the most influential body to adopt the eye as a symbol of God or the supreme being, which I contend we're talking two different entities here. As we have seen, they sometimes enclose the image of the eye in a triangle to suggest the idea of the Trinity, or three in one. The 17th century German mystic Jacob Boehme introduced many symbols that were later adapted into the Masonic tradition. Among those symbols was the eye as a representative of the Godhead. In the simple plate below, the eye is at the center of a burning triangle. And remember the word Jesus here, that is very new. You see, we've talked about this before, but it shows that there seems to be a natural evolution to all religions, and how religion either feeds or provides, bleeds into politics. Politics plays a very important role in our species. And that's just wild, man. You look at this and you you just go, I get the vibe of the whole Golden Dawn thing. The circle, which contains the flaming triangle, forms the top of an anchor. This anchor links the light of the world to Jesus with the star world, the sternum region below. Just as the triangle of the dollar bill completes the pyramid below, so the flaming triangle in this illustration completes the anchor below. So you draw two lines that continue the slope of the flaming triangles. You will find that they just enclosed the gaping arcs of the anchor. On one level of symbolism, the threefold spiritual triangle, the Trinity, is linked with the threefold structure of the anchor. On another level of symbolism, the spiritual fire of the triangle is linked with the invisible fire of the stars. There is another interesting link with the magical symbolism and the dollar bill. The periphery of the lower circle, which surrounds the anchor, is marked with 32 stars. Behind the anchor is the sun, another star, making 33 stars in all. This is a magical number because it is the total number of years that Jesus spent on earth. Eventually, we discovered that this magical hidden meaning is linked with the symbolism of the dollar bill. Whew. All right, I want to get on to, and as you read this, folks, yeah. Let's see. So much to do on this. I mean, the whole symbolism of George Washington is involved with the magical symbolism of the design. For example, the oval is set in a linear structure that resembles the Greek letter omega. Sure, there's nothing to this stuff. Omega was the final letter of the Greek alphabet, which had been adopted by early Christians as a symbol of the end of things, or the condition to which humanity strives in the future. In contrast, the first letter of the alphabet is alpha, A, was adopted as a symbol of the beginning of things and therefore of the past. Within this framework, the portrait of Washington is symbolically linked with those future conditions to which the American nation strives. It is though his portrait, enclosed by the Omega, is intended to suggest that Washington's spirit is still guiding the destiny of the American nation. Well, all I can say is I think George got pissed off. Let's see. We're going to get through this. We'll don't get into the whole things, but we'll get a gist of it. An historical map brought together the word America with the eagle. The word America has attracted much sloppy attention in the literature devoted to Magick. As a result, the origin of the word has been confused by many. In view of this, it is as well to set straight certain facts concerning this fascinating term. The word first used in a copy of a map of the world made in 1507. One irony of this extraordinary map is that, besides using for the first time the word America, it traces parts of the coastline of the Americas and the discoverer after which the country had been named, Amerigero Vespucci. These facts are well known to historians. However, from our point of view, the most remarkable fact is that when this unique map was discovered in 1901, there was at the end of the book a fragmented of a star map that included a detail of the constellation known as Lyra. This is shown on the detailed overleaf from the woodcut map made by Albrecht Dürer in 1515. This represented the celestial eagle clutching to its body the Lyra, or harp. Lyra is portrayed between Hercules with the lion skin over his left arm and the bird Avis, and above the swooping eagle, Aquila. The ease of identification, Lyra, has been reproduced alongside this detailed of Dürer's star map. What the hell is going on here? Remarkably, in 1820, this constellation Lyra caught the imagination of the Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams. He constructed from it a device for the passport of the United States of America, encircled by stars. The letter A is among the most magical of all letters. The letter A is among the most magical. In numerology, it is equated with the number 1. This is true for all the first letters of the alphabets used in the West today. Latin is A1, Greek A alpha, Hebrew alpha 1. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Let's continue on. Again, I'm skipping over this, but folks, this gets, you just continue. Let's continue, move on. This is really good stuff. If you wanted to do another show on this, let me know. Okay. This is interesting. The mottos. There we go. The motto, E pluribus unum, is part of a magical numerology of the dollar bill. The eagle of the dollar bill grasps in its beak a banderole on which is written the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, the one. Since the motto contains 13 letters, the idea is that from the 13 original colonies, there had grown the one United States. Altogether, there are no fewer than 10 examples of the number 13 on the dollar bill. As we proceed, we shall examine each of these occurrences. There are 6 examples of the number 13 in the eagle rondelle as follows, 3 of which express the idea out of many, the one. The 13 stars make one constellation. The 13 letters make one motto. The 13 leaves makes one olive branch. There are 13 arrows. There are 13 vertical divisions on the shield. There are 13 horizontal divisions on the shield. You don't think that The number 13. You want to know why Taylor Swift has it tattooed? She knows. It is perhaps no accident. And by the way, that is a blood ritual sacrifice, but we won't get into that. Yeah, I know. Tattoos are a bloodletting ritual. It's just a fact. Not negative or positive. It's just what it is. It is perhaps no accident that the division of the motto in this mandrello results in the word unum, meaning larger than the other two words. The Latin unum means one, and this is the $1 bill. The angle of the word unum is such that it points up to the word one and the figure one, which are crossed in the top right of the bill. This extended line crosses the bottom of the number one and just touches the bottom tip of the word one. The Latin word ex pluribus unum are early Christian. The Latin phrase e pluribus unum is more usually a way of repeating these three Latin words. This phrase, which of course contains 14 rather than the all-important 13 letters, is found in the autobiographical confessions of the 5th century Christian St. Augustine. The words are from a passage in which Augustine writes his friendship, which has, as he puts it, the power to set ablaze our souls, and out of many make one. Wow. Remember, 6, 7 years ago, we said that we are a soul of many, a spirit of one. Anyway, I digress. One presumes that the many are the many delights of friendship, and the one is love. Okay. And it goes on to the history of the word itself. And again, as you can see, this is some wild, wild stuff. Above the radiant triangle and its eye of providence is the Latin motto, Inuit Septus, Coeptus, excuse me. This motto has been taken from words written by the Roman poet Virgil in his epic, is that the Aeneid, where a prayer is made to Jupiter requesting aid in a daring enterprise ahead. The words read, now see how my Latin is, the audacibus annuus copius, meaning favor our daring undertaking. Oh, that was truly a Freudian slip on that one. It may have ended up that way. Who knows if he didn't get the favor? And there's that word favor. Ancient it is, folks. Ancient. It's powerful magic. That's why I say it every day. A similar line is also found in Virgil's Greek as the prayer of the gods for help. The Latin reads, Da filiism curosum atic audacibus inio Cassipius gives a smooth path. Look kindly on my daring enterprise. The seal motto is a loose adaptation of one or other of the lines of Virgil. In either case, it is from a prayer invoking the pagan gods who are implored to look with favor on the enterprise. Therefore, the word, the Inuit Copius, translates as he favors our understanding and implies that the undertaking is a daring one. Thus, in relation to the seal and dollar bill, the motto petitions aid in the daring enterprise of completing the pyramid. Wow. That's all I got to say about that. So the pyramid itself, the truncated pyramid consists of 13 courses. The United States, again, founded in 1776, by an agreement undertaken by the 13 colonies. It is therefore hardly surprising that the pyramid should be represented by the designers of the Great Seal as having 13 completed courses. Wow. The Latin date is marked on the bottom course. This implies that the building of the pyramid was begun in 1776. There is no indication as to when it will be finished, if ever. The idea of a truncated pyramid was Masonic. Francis Hopkins, who designed the pyramid for the $50 bill for the continental currency, was almost certainly a Mason. There may be little doubt that it was this truncated pyramid with its 13 courses that suggested to Barton the idea of a pyramid on the reverse of the seal. It is possible that Hopkins' currency design for the $50 bill also had an influence on the use of the eye in the Great Seal. This currency contained the image of an eye within a cloud of glory. And I think if I'm correct on that, that would be the Shekinah glory. The source of the truncated pyramid on the first seal proposal, the first drawings of the truncated pyramid for the seal, was that made by William Barton in 1782. This is a stepped pyramid of 13 courses. Its proportions appear to have been copied from a work on the Great Pyramid by an English professor at Oxford University, John Greaves. Below is Barton's pyramid. This is compared with the section from Greaves' engraving of the Great Pyramid, which he used to illustrate in his book on his subject. Greaves had traveled to Giza and had studied the Great Pyramid in great detail. The proportion of his design was very accurate, even though it did not represent all of the 202 remaining courses in the historic pyramid. It is, of course, the truncated top that is of interest to us. It had also interested Greaves, who wrote in a spelling so representative of the 18th century that the great structure ends not in a point, as a mathematical pyramid does, but in a little flat or square, 9 feet in breadth at the top. 9. Barton's drawing rightfully emphasized this truncation, which is an important part of his symbolism. He was anxious to portray a pyramid that was yet to be completed. In contrast, Greaves had been interested in the fact that the pyramid had once been completed, but had been destroyed by time and man, both at the top and along the 4 faces. Although 7 of the top courses are now missing and are fragmentary, so massive is the pyramid itself that the loss is scarcely noticeable from the ground. The unfinished pyramid appeared in the art long before the 18th century. I think we're all beginning to realize that now. These guys were just copying other people's stuff. And it's magic, it's occult, it's paganism, it's got Christianism in it, it's got it's Hellenistic. The only thing I can think of. Totally Hellenistic across the board. The pyramid was a symbol of stability and virtue. The pyramid figures as a symbol of stability in the number of emblem books of the 17th century. The one opposite is of the emblem book of 1635. I look at that. I've seen UFOs like the one they captured over the Pentagon. They got it the same thing over Red Square, same thing in China. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It says this emblem is a curious one. The rodale portrays a flying pyramid, even though the text expounds upon the stability of a true triangulated pyramid, which stands fast against the winds and raging sea. The moral is that human virtue should aspire to the same stability that the pyramid offers. The writer of the text prays to God that he may be granted this security in the raging seas of his own inner life. But fix thou so this weak desire of mine upon the virtues of the rock divine, that I and that invaluable stone may be incorporated into one, and then it will be neither shame nor pride to say my virtues will unmovably abide. I'm trying to go rather quick. The individual number stones in the pyramid is magical. As we know, the pyramid consists of 13 courses, and the symbolism was intended to refer to the 13 colonies. In 1928, the American symbolist Manny P. Hall attempted to show that there were 72 stones in the pyramid, exclusive of the block that contains the Latin date. This exciting idea began to circulate widely among those interested in the secret symbolism of the seal. The excitement was quite reasonable because the number 72 is one of the most sacred of all magical numbers. It is surprising that Manny Hall's notion was so widely accepted. The picture of the pyramid rondel from the seal of 1904, which he reproduced to support his idea, does not have 72 stones. It actually has 73, excluding the block containing the date. It seems that Manly Hall did not count the stones with sufficient care. Who would have known? However, this thesis of Manly Hall did influence the latter design of the dollar bill. Even with the aid of a powerful magnifying glass, it is far from easy to count the stones on the dollar bill pyramid. The difficulty is that the engraver has used vertical lines for shading, and these are not always easy to distinguish from the vertical mortar lines. However, a serious attempt to count these stones convinced one that the designer, Edward M. Weeks, had been influenced by Manly Hall's numerology. Weeks' own pyramid on the dollar bill is represented with the lowest block in the form of a single monolith. This gives a total of 72 blocks in the face of the structure. This number 72 is one of the most sacred numbers in all magical systems. For example, it is believed that there are 72 ways of writing and pronouncing the name of God. Our good friend Nathan Shatek, I got his poster, and I know several of y'all do as well. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Of the engraving on the following page from the 17th century book dealing with magical symbolism gives these 72 names along with their many associations. And that's exactly, you can order that. I forgot to put the link in, but many of you go over to Etsy and just put in Freighter Nathan Shintek. And yeah, powerful stuff. I've had people walk into this office and it's behind the door, and they can, like I said, I kind of look at it, it's like a 24-hour open portal. What? The number 72 is also linked with the movement of the sun due to the phenomenon called precession. The sun appears to fall back against the stars. This rate of precession is 1 degree every 72 years. The pyramid on the dollar bill is a magical symbol. The number 72, which we find in the pyramid, appears in one of the most important of all magical symbols. This figure is called the Tetrachris and consists of 4 letters of the Hebrew name of God arranged in 4 lines. In the Kabbalistic system, that is, the secret wisdom of the Hebrews, each letter of the alphabet is accorded a number. The letter Yod is given the number 10. The letter He is given the number 5. The letter Va is given the number 6. It follows that these numerical equivalents may be substituted for the letter of Yohe Vahe. Holy shit. I'm sorry. I mean, this is some serious, serious stuff, folks. I mean, the magical figure of the Tactarics is clearly linked with the pyramid of the dollar bill. There is one other magical Tactarics from the 17th century which forms an even closer link with the pyramid. This Tactaricus, excuse me, above is set within a flaming triangle, which has the outer form of a heart. The radiant triangle above the truncated pyramid may be seen as a reference to this burning Tectrex. Okay. Do any of you doubt this now? I mean, it's right there. Holy crap. And we'll get this one, the magic of the numbers. We're seeing it already, that it's all over the place. The date is part of the magical numerology of the dollar bill. Clarence Thompson, the Secretary of Congress, first proposed in 1780 that the Latin date should be used on the Great Seal, MDCCLXXV1. Thompson appears to have been aware of some hidden meaning within that date. As we shall see, the designer of the dollar bill, Edward M. Weeks, made extensive and creative use of the hidden meaning. The Latin date at the base of the pyramid is the equivalent of 1776. The Latin consists of 9 characters, the same as the numbers of the letter in $1. The large one in the center of the bill is built up from 9 shade units. In all, there are 9 words, including the Latin date, in the 2 rondels. The eagle's tail consists of 9 feathers. When the Roman date on the pyramid is translated into Arabic numerals, 1776, a remarkable numerology is revealed. In numerology, the 1776 may be seen as bracketed parentheses 1 plus 6 equals 7, close parentheses, 7 and 7, close brackets. This is 3 sevens, or 777, a combination of the 2 most magical of all numbers, the 3 and the 7. In this case, it is the number 7 repeated 3 times. The 3 numbers and 7 appear on the dollar bill on several occasions. For example, the 2 mottos, Novus Ordo Selectum, or E Pluribus Unum, consist of 3 words. The inscription, the Great Seal, below the pyramid rondel, also consists of 3 words. This is completed by the words of the United States below the Eagle Seal to make 7 words in total. The words at the top and bottom of this side of the dollar bill also consist of 7 words, the United States of America and $1. On the face of the dollar bill, the word 1 is repeated 7 times. That is, if we include the word unum, which means 1, from the motto, E pluribus unum. The number 1776 adds up to 21. This number 21 is another example of 3 and 7. In this case, 3 times 7 equals 21. There are 21 words in the middle of the dollar bill reading left from right. And I'm going to end it there. It just continues and continues. So, not sure about you. And like I said, we haven't even finished it all. I don't know. So what do you do with this? Well, I think you can do a lot with it, to be honest with you. I mean, it shows you how little we actually know. It constantly reminds me that I know very little. I mean, one could say, we all could say we know a lot of stuff, but man. And sometimes I feel like, like you're a first grader entering into an advanced class in calculus where they're all seniors. It's not that you're smart enough. It's not that you lack the intelligence. It's just over your head because you haven't been trained, haven't been taught. And that's my desire. That it's a hunger within me because this stuff is ancient. It goes back a long ways. And it influenced these men, these women. Wow. I mean, I hope y'all enjoyed this. I mean, to me, it's just, hey, Robert Scott, how you doing? It just, Shirley, what's up? Good to see you. Danny, hello. Good to see you. Gilbert, how you doing, brother? Now, I'm going to go a little bit over on this one because it demands that this be brought up. So the world wants to move to a digital currency. And this has got huge implications from the occult aspect because it will require some form of design. Susie Q, how are you doing? Thank you. Good to hear that. Michelle said, look into the ecclesiastic Gnostics Catholic. Yeah, I have no doubt that's cool. But anyway, so there's this move to move everything into the ethereal. That's what the digital world is. It's the ethereal realm. And, someone pointed out again that in American Gods, media is a god. We know that money, currency, the word money itself is Mercury. It's a god. And I keep on thinking that, I taught payment, conducted more seminars than I care to remember on how payment evolved. We've always had some form of payment from our very early beginnings, but it was always physical. And, regardless of what the medium was that was used in exchange, you had money, you had wealth. Today, we have a whole generations now, they don't really understand the concept of actually having physical cash so much as that they want it on demand with their digital world. So power and wealth will never go unacclaimed. Someone's going to claim it. And we know that these gods, these deities, these demigods, however you want to look at them, they're real. They exist. So are we witnessing a battle? What I mean, going from this thing that our species craves, well, how much money do you make? How much money do you have? And a lot of people will temporarily sell themselves out to that desire, money. I want more money. In the end, there's only so much money that you really actually need. If you can grasp that, you're a very wealthy person. But people get deceived in that. We have a country right now, a government that's run by corruption, bribes. It's all about money. You think about how money is used in their world. It's used for very evil purposes. There's power attached to it. Great power. And if you can understand that it's an illusion, it's what I used to put in when I did a lot of preaching in the back in the day, way back in the day, but it's the story of the two guys standing on a corner and there's a hearse going by. And the one guy is standing there and says to the other, he said, isn't that old man Jones? And the guy said, yeah, it is. And the guy says, well, he was the richest man in town. And the guy said, yeah, he was. The guy said, well, I just wonder how much you left behind. And the other guy said, everything. It's true. I mean, the truest wealth is anyway, I digress. But think about the fact there is a transference of power taking place. And I just think to myself, so who's controlling it? All right, everyone. We'll pick up on something tomorrow. Man, I got a list like that long. I was going to do this one on leprechauns. The fact that, there is apparently some fact behind the myth or the legend. But we'll figure it out. Boots on the ground, how are you doing? All right, love everybody. Thank you. You folks are just beautiful. Free thinkers here. And let me tell you, it's not in vain. What y'all participate in the chat, in the comments, there's other people that respond to that. So thank you. Thank you for making it a groovy place. All right, I'm going to get be like a hockey player and get the puck out of here. So be good, everybody. Much love to you until we meet again. Thank you all, Esley and Doug. And if I missed your name, well, thank you. I didn't do it on purpose. All right. Until we see each other again, be good to yourselves and favor. Hey, the ancients used to speak out favor. The gods speak favor. You speak favor to them. For instance, real quickly, let's say you do have a financial need. Speak favor to the finances. Speak it out loud. Yeah. If you need $100,000, speak favor to the $100,000. You surprised how things work.